Okay, so I thought people might be interested in maybe a closer look, such as a video, and maybe with a little bit of commentary as to what these bits and pieces are or seem to be. So I'll just reach out and let you know what I'm looking at. So this is a fairly heavy bronze. It's a lever. It's got pins that allow it to sort of rock on maybe a knee connection. It was when I recovered it inside a large electrical piece with carbon connectors that struck up against that. For those in the know, these pieces that you'll see here are come out of the one machine and known as an auto transformer, or possibly a resistance starter. They're similar. So this is another piece of the machinery that was inside the device. This is also very heavy. I'll just take this lever out. A lever, you can see it's been geared, obviously to be driven by engaging with a gearbox or wheels, and in this case it was to engage with this device, which has cogs and wheels, and it looks to be a flywheel type of thing on the front. So if you can see that, it spins, and the gears provide some sort of reduction. Looks great, very animated. Has a lever on the front of it describing slow to fast, and it seems potentially another solenoid coil that did something associated with that. Wonderful piece of thing. Again, very heavy, made of brass. Back to this device here, which is levers and connector points, spring loaded, and each of the points, a very interesting gizmo, has sort of some pedestal arrangements to support it when it was installed, to shift this out of the way, and this whole lever mechanism moves, and each of the pieces are then sprung loaded and do that sort of thing. So that's that. These are brass, and they are the opposing features of this device. I don't recall how they engage, but again, they're also levered, and you can see the lever here. These appear to be also solid brass, quite heavy. This lever is of insulated material, so I guess it was to separate phases in the action of the device. This is a very nice ammeter. There's no glass in the front of the device. It's been broken at some time, but I've taken the front off, and the lens that would have been there was held in by sort of leaf arrangements with small screws, so it's replaceable if you were to get some glass cut. It was to measure up to somewhere around 150 amps. Very nice moving iron meter. I made some inquiries about this particular meter, and it's still in good order. If it was offered current, it would measure it. This is a solenoid device, a mechanism of some sort. It's got an iron core being drawn into a field, a fairly tightly wound coil of some sort. All of this is brass. The mechanism is brass all the way around, except for this part in here, which seems to be the iron core attracted by magnetic field when the solenoid is energized. I would expect, I don't see any problems with it. There doesn't seem to be any smoke or carbon dust. I don't think it's ever actually blown, so I would think if somebody put some voltage on it, it would probably work again, for those who wanted a bit of animated machinery. This is similarly a very large coil, a powerful coil. I'll just turn it over. Here's the two leads for the winding itself. I'm just getting in close to this wire here, It may or may not be damaged. I don't know, it could have been damaged when I was removing it. It's got some handwritten information just on here. Might reference the number of wines, possibly the wire gauge. Maybe a, oh, it's got, I think it says it weighs 26 pounds or 20 pounds, something like that. It certainly weighs 9 kg, so that might be about right at 20 pounds. And I don't know why someone would note the weight of it, possibly because that's how much copper was wound into it for the field coil. And you can see that it works this way, very powerful solenoid in its time. Here's a very nice brass faced and hand drawn a gauge material, written in, looks to be Indian ink, beautiful actually, in pounds and feet head of water, very nice. Brass case, black back, and nippled connection. It was working. It didn't come out of the same machine, it came out of a building that pumped, and that was a working gauge. This is a similar Burden type gauge, Burden design. Again, same era. It looks like the needle itself is moving now on the spindle, but I've taken the back off and the Burden mechanism is entire. The springs there, the geared parts there, and it works very nicely. How I would say that there's probably no friction between the pin that drives through the center of that needle anymore, and it needs to be just touched up a little bit. However, I guess the pièce de résistance, as they say, is this device. Now, I'm fairly certain I know what I'm talking about here. This is a chart recorder, and its description of purpose and how to use it is written in this diagram here in the case itself. It is a clockwork motor, and there is some information about the gears and the ratios that occur, how to install the device, how to set it up. Now, what it was a device that recorded the fluctuating level of a tank, so that, I'll just reach out to it, this drum here had cable around it, and at the other end of that cable was a float, and the float was balanced by another cable here on the smaller drum. Now, rotating this, well, the float moving up and down caused these gears to move, and these gears to move would engage this drum, and this drum would rotate, which have a paper chart on it. And this device is a hand-filled, this hand ink-filled pen. The ink went in there, and the geared motor would drag the device along the shaft by these cables and return it as to however the motor was driven to do. You can see that there's different size gears on the top of it, and this is the key. And I'll just show you, and you'll hear it winding out. And you may not hear it ticking away, but I have heard it. So the geared motor still works. And the drum, I haven't seen the drum moving because it's not connected to floats to cause that movement, but that truly is a lovely piece of kit. So I'll just take the key out, replace it here where it came from, just in there, put the lid back on. Oh, just before that, sadly one hinge is missing. There's this hinge just here, and this hinge over here is missing. So the case is not complete. However, the case does do its job. Closes up nicely. This is one latch, left hand side, and the other latch, the right hand side. Still doing what it's doing. The maker's plate being, I'll just read that for you, the Lee Recorder Company Limited, instrument number, can't quite read that, Manchester, England. The case is some sort of lacquered insulating material with aluminium corners. It's a really very nice lace. I'm tempted to say it's Bakelite, but I don't think it actually is. Really very nice. So that's all of the kit that's for sale. For those that are really keen, the steampunk type people, I guess. Maybe there's the odd person there is interested in instruments as well. That's it. One last look before I end the video, and I will send it up to YouTube. Good luck to you all.